That was a lovely way to end your statement. Of course, that one vote is Donald Trump, and he is influencing all the decision making and the policy, foreign policy of the United States of America. I want to focus in the studio with Professor Abdullah Al Mamun. You were hearing Norman Flood Barnes and how he believes this autocracy, this dictatorship, I would say, in my very frank opinion, that Donald Trump is pursuing. But according to Al Jazeera, NATO Secretary Mark Rutte on Monday met with Danish Ministry of Defense Troels Lund Poulsen and Greenland's Minister of Foreign Affairs Vivian Motzfeldt to discuss proposal for boosting Arctic security, including the establishment of a joint NATO mission in the Danish territory of Greenland. So NATO seems to be in a very precarious situation, and NATO does not know exactly what kind of exactly who to serve
and how to react.
How to react. And
but where Barnes ends, I would like to start from there. The one vote, and that one vote is now having heavy mind and head, not being rewarded with the Nobel Peace Prize. And he frankly tweeted and said to the Finnish Prime Minister, perhaps, that as a Norwegians, that as you didn't awarded me the Nobel Peace Prize,
I don't see eye to eye
any responsibility of peace to anybody else, and only peace is American interest. Thanks, Norman, for that wonderful statement of one vote. But a couple of development has to be looked into it. And yesterday or last couple of days, we're following demonstrations in Greenland. Of course, Greenlanders, they're very concerned. And secondly, in a number of countries, including Hungary, Norway, Finland, and Denmark, we can see that people are raising the voice. And don't forget the trade issue brought here by the name of the tariff. And he threatened France today that it could increase to 200% to your liquor export if you don't agree in my terms. And more development, I think. Don't forget one thing, that when we are saying, as Barnes has mentioned, that Golden Dome issue for the northern part security of USA, that is very important, but we should not forget one of the real causes, that is the RES, what we are saying, that real earth material there, that is very important. And one of the key issues in this conflict, sometimes we forget to mention in discussion, and we are focusing more on the military issues, security issues, but don't forget the value of RES, the green energy, and the very important material for defense technology. That should not be ignored. And another issue, you see, of course, last time we also discussed about the Greenland, but the positioning is also, of course, very important, and it is Russia and China. But do you really see any kind of movement, any kind of provocative statements from China and Russia? Of course not, there's nothing. And I don't know really where the NATO would stand in future. The existence of whole NATO is already being threatened. You know, the 8 countries that have been sanctioned with the 10% tariff, including Germany.
NATO.
Germany and UK, perhaps, they have been sanctioned with the tariff as well. So I don't know in which direction going, and this is the reason I say it is a chicken and egg problem for NATO. On the one hand,
who came first?
Who came first? Who came
that
first?
Was a simple situation.
I don't know whether, Dominic, if you can hear me, I don't know. It's a one of the most difficult situations in the history of NATO to decide. And the way things are moving, I don't think that NATO would have minimum respect or regard from Trump's administration. Norman was a bit naive and not direct in saying that ultimately Trump would be occupying Greenland, but I don't know in which way, when, in which year, but the saga started from the very beginning, middle of the 2025, that would continue.
And initially, when he was elected, he said Greenland is going to
be very important for
United States.
He is very clear in his autocracy that I offer you a good deal to buy the land. And if you don't, then
I have other means that I might pursue.
And don't forget his tweet yesterday night, I think, that until unless European countries agree in his term, he would not contribute to NATO. He don't rely on anything. He doesn't respect any trade agreements, rules, regulation, nothing else. So in such a situation, that is what I said when, and I mentioned about Norman, I really see that Greenland people's suffering would continue. And the most pathetic thing and very unfortunate thing is that these two parties are talking, few nations have already been involved apart from the NATO itself. But we are not hearing the voice, statement, will anything of Greenlandic people. This is not a good appearance of a new world emerging under Trump's new administration. This is you can't really accept this. And perhaps in your last program I said that no state who are in favor of peace, including the international bodies, should not be silent here. It is important that every state, regardless from Africa to Asia, from Asia to Latin America, everyone should raise the voice. We have seen the catastrophe in Venezuela. Now it is in Greenland, and we don't know.
And very briefly, it was in Iran as well.
And Iran as well.
Very briefly.
Iran as well. Thanks to Iranians people. I'm not going to the debate of Islamic rule and the democracy, but they're very fortunate that they're not being targeted well by Trump administration. Perhaps it's a very difficult equation to be there in Iraq than the Venezuela. But my request to everybody else listening, students, teachers, businessmen, diplomats, whoever it is, all the country leaders will be following this program. Wherever you are, raise your voice. Until you raise your voice, show the collectivism, the whole world, the way Trump is redefining the rules of the whole world, we all will be in trouble.
Of course, that's a very beautiful way of your statement regarding what is going on. But I smell hypocrisy coming out. Of course, if you can agree.
Don't forget the intention of Danish government in terms of the investment from China and Russia, particularly from China. If you look at the graph of FDI to Denmark, they, after the interest or prescription or suggestion from US, they are gradually refusing Chinese and Russian investment. And they have also started scrutinizing the companies who are interested to invest in Denmark or even some extent to Greenland, whether they have any connection to Ukraine war. So this is a huge respect from Denmark to Donald Trump and his cabinet or his administration. But unfortunately, that hasn't been counted in this whole matter of Greenland issue. That is disregarded. On the one hand, we know that in many cases, Trump's administration's intention is international trade and in building, rebuilding US again. This is one of their slogans, one of their positions that they're promoting, and they're imposing tariff to a number of countries. But here that has been ignored. So my argument is you are not consistent. You are not at all. Your partners can believe you that what you said, I'm doing that. We are reducing trade with China and Russia, but even obeying your suggestion as a trusted partner, you are not showing any regard, any respect to a partner like Denmark. There is a long-term trusted partner. So this is the huge, that will create huge problem and mistrust among many US allies. I don't know, Norman, how you reflect to this, but in a long term, I really see this is a big issue for the US government, particularly for Trump administration.